I once believed our marriage was the safest place on earth until my husband's hidden secrets surfaced, plunging me into crushing disappointment and turning my world completely upside down. My name is Sophia. I'm 33 years old, currently working as an HR manager for a mid-sized company in a quiet suburban area. My husband, Daniel, is 2 years older than me and works as a financial specialist for a large corporation. He earns more than I do, but that has never been a concern. I've always been proud of the career he's built. We've been married for 7 years. To our friends, we were a perfect couple, both loving to travel, joking around about trivial things, and usually supporting each other in our jobs. I honestly believed this marriage was my strongest anchor. Yet around 4 months ago, things started to change. At first, I only sensed him growing somewhat distant, but I tried to dismiss any negative thoughts. Then suspicious behaviors began to pile up. Daniel would take his phone everywhere, keeping me from seeing incoming texts or calls. I brushed off the unease, telling myself maybe he was busy with investments, guarding company secrets, or that his finance project was stressing him out. One evening, someone from Daniel's finance department seemed to be talking with him off hours. I caught bits of his phone conversation. "Have the files ready. Give it a bit more time. The moment will come. Just leave it alone for now." I came closer, intending to ask about his work, but Daniel abruptly ended the call, giving me a tense smile, saying, "I'm tired. Let's talk tomorrow." That quick dismissal made me uneasy. In the days that followed, he began treating anything financial with extreme caution. Previously, Daniel used to show me the investments he was monitoring or let me watch together on his tablet while he tracked stocks. Now, if I happened to sit nearby, he'd lock his screen or switch tabs. One night, out of nowhere, he suggested, "Maybe we should consolidate all our accounts or at least be clear on each other's financial details. You should share your salary numbers, your savings, just in case we ever need to make a big decision." He spoke calmly, but his face was impassive, like he was making a clinical proposal. I was a bit taken aback. We'd always been comfortable about money matters, never forcing the other to fully disclose spending details. Now he wanted everything merged, or at the very least fully under his knowledge. When I asked, "Why so suddenly?" Daniel only answered, "I'm thinking about the future. Many risks could happen. Better if we're ready." But a gut feeling told me something more was going on. That night I couldn't sleep, my mind swirling. Was Daniel hiding something? Why was he suddenly so intent on controlling finances? Nevertheless, I tried calming my worries. Maybe I'm just overthinking. He could be worried about economic risks. This carried on for about 2 weeks, during which he repeatedly brought it up, even pushing to see documents for assets in my name, like the house I'd inherited from my father. We had a small argument when I expressed discomfort. "You're acting strange. If something's bothering you, just say it. Don't circle around it." Daniel got irritated, muttering that I didn't trust him, then stayed silent the whole evening. It hurt me further, leaving me drained. The idea that he might be collecting information for some scheme began to solidify. I confided in my old classmate Linda, who's also a lawyer. Linda advised that if I suspected my husband had bad intentions, I should avoid direct confrontation and first protect my assets. "Do you have proof?" she asked. "If not, it's still best to be prepared." She explained, "In case Daniel decides on a surprise divorce, you need to keep your crucial assets safe. Later in court, you won't be forced to give away anything you've already transferred out of your name." Those words made me shiver. I was only 33. Why did I have to think about divorce? But remembering Daniel's strange behavior lately, my heart clenched. Could it be he was already set on leaving this marriage? One weekend afternoon, I came home from the grocery store earlier than usual and heard Daniel on the phone in his study, sounding rushed. "Divorce paperwork. Yeah, hold on, not yet, the plan's already done." My ears buzzed. Did he really say the word divorce? My heart pounded and I stepped back, not wanting him to know I'd overheard anything. When Daniel came out, he stared, startled. "When did you get home?" I forced a grin. "Just now. Who were you talking to?" Just an old client needing advice." He scratched his head, deflecting, then said he had to rush out for something. I quietly watched him leave, consumed by a profound dread. The next day, I gathered the courage to check our joint bank account. I discovered that each time Daniel got paid, He withdrew a small portion through odd transactions. Not huge enough to scream red alert, but enough to add up significantly over time. Where was that money going? I felt almost crushed, like my trust was shattering. But rather than break down crying, I decided I had to act. I scheduled a talk with Linda, laid everything out. She recommended I move all my important assets into my mother's name, or create a trust. The toughest part was hiding this from Daniel. I wasn't used to sneaking around, but Linda reassured, "You have to do it before he formally files. Once he finalizes those papers, everything will be complicated." I felt guilty, like I was betraying him, but I knew that if Daniel truly intended to abandon this marriage, he wouldn't show me any mercy. I told my mom she lives alone after Dad passed away, still in decent health and very lucid. I only gave her some details, saying, "I'm in trouble. I'm afraid Daniel is planning something. I need you to take ownership of a few things." Mom frantically asked, "Is he physically hurting you?" "No, it's just I think I'll have to face a divorce soon." My voice caught and her face showed alarm. She didn't press further, just gently hugged me. "Okay, do what you must. I'm here." For 2 days, I quietly printed statements and sorted documents. The suburban house, originally part of my inheritance, was still under my name from before marriage. I once thought of adding Daniel's name to show love, but luckily never did so. Transferring it to my mother was straightforward. My personal savings from before marriage also got placed in a trust, arranged by Linda. Once that was done, I fell into a strange emptiness. Each night, I lay beside Daniel, the husband I loved, wrapped in a heavy sadness. I'd stare at him, recalling how he happily held my hand once, promising, "I'll protect you forever." Now everything seemed flipped. I sometimes sobbed silently in the bathroom, picturing us about to go our separate ways. The idea of living alone, losing the home we'd created, crushed my heart. Yet then I felt a surge of anger. Why would he treat me like this? Betrayal, frustration, suspicion, all wove together, leaving me sleepless. As time passed, it became clearer Daniel was waiting for the right moment. Paradoxically, he acted more cheerful, sometimes even buying me flowers, though that had never been his habit. I knew it wasn't a genuine sign he still loved me, but likely a strategy to keep me safe and off guard while he wrapped up his plan. Sure enough, one Monday morning, as I dressed for work, Daniel calmly said, "Sophia, I think we need to talk. Why don't you sit down?" I shuddered inside, telling myself, "It's coming now." He took out a stack of papers, a divorce petition, blah, blah. The reasons? He needed freedom, felt our marriage constrained him, we had no future. He also mentioned a fair settlement. But it was obvious from the language he intended to claim most of our assets, including the suburban house and the savings. I stood there silently, tears welling up, but I clenched my lips to keep quiet. Feeling heartbreak hit its peak, my chest tightened. The man I'd loved so long was now pushing me into a dead end. Reading those cold words, it was as if a blade cut away all our memories. And yet, in that sorrow, there was a spark of fury. So this is his true face? I thought bitterly, staring in disbelief. Steeling myself, I responded softly, "All right, I accept dealing with this legally." 1 week later, we met at the lawyer's office for our first mediation. Daniel arrived with his own attorney, immaculate suit, exuding confidence. I brought Linda. Daniel's lawyer began listing requests, half our house, half the bank accounts, even some living expense coverage for Daniel's tough period. My heart pounded heavily, but I remembered my precautions. Linda gave me a subtle nod, then handed a folder to their side. "Before discussing property division, please review these." Daniel's lawyer took it, and I watched his face darken. He realized they were documents showing the trust I had set up, the property and savings I'd transferred well before Daniel filed. Hearing every page flip, the tension in the room grew palpable. Daniel shot me a glare, his composure collapsing into anger. "When did you do all this?" I remained silent, letting Linda speak. "My client transferred all significant assets under her mother's name, including the house and her savings prior to Daniel's filing. Therefore, the claims in his divorce petition have no standing." Daniel was stunned, his lawyer visibly perplexed. I saw his hands tremble, struggling to contain his rage. He whipped his head toward me, eyes burning. Sophia, what the hell are you doing? Have you been fooling me? I clenched my fists, avoiding his eyes so I wouldn't sob or yell. But inside, my anger raged. He's the one fooling me, plotting to snatch my assets. Who's the real trickster here? The mediation ended with them trying to salvage minimal items left in our shared checking. Linda asserted, "That's barely enough for minor bills. Everything else was lawfully handled." Daniel stormed out, slamming the door. Even his lawyer scolded him. Why didn't you catch that she transferred assets in time? After that day, Daniel changed drastically. He no longer kept calm. He bombarded me with phone calls, first trying a humble approach. "Don't do this, Sophia. Our marriage wasn't that bad. I only wanted a fair deal." I stayed silent, never responding. Then he moved to accusing me. "You're ungrateful. I gave you a comfortable life. You'd be nothing without me." His calls and texts swung from apologies to curses to pitiful grievances. Sometimes he yelled, "You'll regret this." Later, he'd try begging, "Can't we try again? Don't ruin me." My once unwavering trust lay in pieces. Anguish turned into anger and disgust. Following Linda's guidance, I refused to engage or talk directly, handling everything only through our attorneys to avoid fruitless confrontations. Gradually, mutual friends told me that Daniel actually had another woman he'd met on a financial project. It seemed they'd planned a new life once he got what he wanted from our marriage. How absurd. Daniel once solemnly vowed to love me, but now orchestrated a scheme with someone else to exploit my property. That news clarified it all. His financial demands were just a stepping stone, so he and that woman could start fresh. I was both shocked and bitter. "So he never truly valued me," I murmured, letting sadness morph into resentment. In the end, his lawyer realized there was nothing more to gain now that my property transfers were documented. Both parties dropped their lofty demands, focusing on trivial leftovers in the joint account. The court finalized our divorce swiftly, with no further arguments, since most of my major assets were safe. I packed out of the suburban house once my dream home and moved in with Mom to regain my emotional balance. After losing a 7-year marriage, I spent many days processing the heartbreak. Sometimes I felt I couldn't move on, haunted by the memories. But then, my anger reignited. Why should I yearn for someone who drove me to despair? As for Daniel, I heard the other woman deserted him too, once she realized he wouldn't get the windfall they had planned. He soon fell into debt, lost his job perhaps due to tarnished reputation. Some acquaintances commented, "Sophia, he's miserable now," but I felt only emptiness. I could no longer pity him. Day by day, I'm learning self-care, cooking simple meals, morning jogs, reconnecting with friends, growing my social circle. Mom suggests repainting the suburban house as a kind of rebirth. "You can rent it out, or move back when the time is right," she says. Deep down, I realize she's nudging me to see the future as still secure if I truly value and protect myself. Looking back, I see how my journey ranged from shock and heartbreak, to despair on discovering my husband's scheme, to fierce anger that let me shield what was mine. Now I can manage a slight smile. Life is like that. To heal from bitterness, you must learn to stand on your own feet. Maybe this ordeal taught me to treasure my own worth, to love myself above all others. This story could be the end of one chapter. I never intended to share it publicly, yet letting it out does bring relief. I hope anyone else in a similar predicament realizes they have every right to defend themselves, to choose peace instead of drowning in deception. Because in marriage or any relationship once trust has shattered, you have no choice but to be strong. And even if you pay with tears and heartbreak, there will still be a chance to move on with a fresh outlook on life. In reality, unexpected events can happen without warning. Trust, seemingly rock solid, can collapse over subtle shifts that seem harmless at first. Having experienced my husband secretly planning to divorce me and seize my assets, I, Sophia, learned that wholehearted love doesn't mean abandoning all caution. If something feels off, don't hesitate to investigate, ask tough questions, or seek help from professionals or trusted loved ones. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's a way to respect yourself and respect marriage. If your partner genuinely cares, they'll never treat financial transparency or information sharing as distrust or betrayal. Conversely, someone plotting harm will be unmasked when you remain vigilant. Remember, some relationships seem safe on the surface, but have serious fractures underneath. Once everything snaps, don't let guilt hold you down. Learn to stay firm, reject what's unworthy, and stride forward. Whether you're young or at any stage in life, you deserve a happiness that's truly yours.